Right, recording on. Over to you, Connor.
Okay, so I'll give you a short introduction of just who I am first. So I'm Connor. I'm the engagement and volunteer officer at Pathfinders. I'm 31 years old. I live in Manchester, and yeah, I'm going to share some experiences about dating and employing PAs and the sort of things between that and everything. Um, I know it's an area that a lot of people want to know about, and if there's something that I don't go into that you'd want to know a lot more about, you can always ask questions or comment and things like that, and I'll try my best to like pick it up and things like that. So, um, what I'm mostly going to talk about is the. I know it's dating is quite a broad topic, so I'm talking about like the maybe like the early dating stages and things when you're like seeing someone and stuff, maybe more so than if you're in more of an established relationship, maybe, and you're employing PAs and things. And I guess the reason I'm doing that, maybe, and this might be a little bit of an assumption, but it's because I think maybe if you're in more of an established relationship, um, some of these things that could be conflicts that we're going to talk about, they might not come up, or there might be things you've already addressed, like before you get to that stage. So yeah, I'll be talking more about the kind of like dating, seeing people, stages of things. So I'm going to use mostly be talking about an example of one of my PAs that I employed for about, I think it was like for 5 or 6 years, um, until fairly recently, just because of a change in circumstances of me and them, basically. Um, and they were, great to employ. And I sort of saw a few different people in terms of like dating over that period of time. So I have like quite a few like different examples and scenarios and things that I thought I could go over. And again, just to give context, like my PA at the time, what they were helping me with mostly, but not, this wasn't the entirety of it, was like a lot of the housework tasks, laundry and changing my bedding and cleaning, cooking and preparing food and things. But then also when I was going out to do, the shop, the big shop and things like that. So that's like the bulk of things. And this is from um, sort of like the end of my university education and then into um, living outside of uni and sort of living with like two of my friends as well. So I might touch on a little bit of that as well. Um, so I thought first I'll talk a bit about boundaries was something that comes up. And it came up with what Charlie sort of had sent me and was talking about around this topic. Is something that comes up a lot. So, what to share with your PA about your relationships, and I guess what to share with who you're dating about employing a PA or a caregiver or whatever. Um, so, it does go both ways, obviously. For me personally, I think what I shared really with my PA is what was most relevant to my situation when they were there and things like that. So I was, pretty close with my PA. I'd say we were friendly, and after uh, being employed by me, like we stay in touch now, and I say we're friends now. But I'm always their employer first and foremost. Um, so I might not necessarily let them know about my dating situation unless it's because the person I'm dating is, coming over and my PA is helping me with things at the time. Obviously, I'm going to let them know that it's someone that's coming. You got to remember, it's like it's your home, obviously, but it is like their workplace as well. So it's it's someone coming into their workplace and things, and it might affect how things are being run there. So that's when I would share that kind of information. Really, I wouldn't necessarily go into detail about that, who I'm dating or anything, until it sort of becomes necessary like that. Um, So I'm just making sure I've not skipped a little section there. Um, and a boundary as well, that I'll touch on, and it could be to do with who you're dating. It could also, for me, it sort of was to do with who I was living with at one point, and like households and who's in the household and things. Um, Somebody who I lived with, um, it sort of seemed like maybe at points they were expecting my PA to maybe do some things that were more for the household than they were for me. Or there was a bit of like a grey area of, is that really assisting or helping me, or is it for like other people? So um, that was a situation where I kind of had to like step in and say to that person, because they'd sort of said it to me rather than to my PA, so they were kind of trying to get to say through me, could they help them with something, and it to just become a whole messy thing, and it's not something that can happen. It wasn't any kind of like intimate kind of work. It was like it was more to do with like how to help me with shopping and things like that. So that was the time when I just had to enforce a boundary and just be like, this person is, they are working for me. I know I'm friendly with them, but um, it's an official thing that they are working for me. There's a contract. They have only a set amount of time with me and set work that they do for me. And I mean, they might not be happy doing stuff for you anyway. It's just a very messy situation. That's when you have to kind of put boundaries in place like that. Um, Another kind of like boundary conflict thing, maybe to do with dating. Um, so my PA was the opposite sex, they were female, and you don't necessarily know how people who you're dating will take that, what they'll think about that. They might not have dated anyone that has a PA. I don't think people I dated had, or one or two that I'm thinking of hadn't. So it's just something to kind of bring up, and obviously you're just reinforcing that it's like it's a professional situation. It's just an entirely professional situation, really. And answer any questions that you want to answer about it. But at the end of the day, it's always like if somebody was going to be really weird about that, it's like my PA is making my life doable and meaning that I can maintain areas of my health and things like that. That's always got to come first. But I would always be very upfront about it. I think when I was, be dating someone, if they were going to be coming over to mine or anything like that, I would just kind of make them aware that that's just the situation, just so that they know. Like, uh, I think as well something that maybe gets overlooked. Well, maybe it doesn't, but I only thought of it far into the process of making notes of this. But sometimes maybe the sort of age and maturity of your PA might come into some of the discussions around things. So I'll give like a specific example to say what I'm kind of talking about. So, like I said, my PA would help me with my shopping. We'd go together to go and get everything and come back and stuff like that. And a situation which could maybe bring some awkwardness depending on you and your PA and whatever is like buying things like contraception and things like that. It's obviously something that like you might have to do, and I need help with my shopping. So if they don't help me do it, then it can't happen. So it's just like a thing that has to happen. And there was no awkwardness or weirdness around it because we just had a good professional relationship. My PA was, a few years older than me, and they were just very professional person. So there was just nothing said about it. It was just understood that that was like something that needed to be done. And I think if there's going to be awkwardness around things like that, or um, inappropriate joking, or I don't know, anything like that. I think that's just something that you kind of just would have to enforce a boundary on, really. It's like, especially if you're not so much their friend and you are just their employer, I think that's something where you'd have to kind of enforce a boundary. Um, unsolicited dating advice is also something that um, came up, and I was thinking about as well. Um, to think about it, I was just thinking, imagine if you were just in, like, in any other workplace, really, um, and you just like gave your boss solicited dating advice. It would be quite. I don't know. I don't think it would go down very well. Just like in an office environment or something. Um, I think if you wanted that advice off that person and they're friendly, then there's no problem there. But if you don't want it, then it is something where you'd have to like reaffirm a boundary, be professional, but like be kind as well, because it's kind of like golden heart rule of like they probably were well meaning. It doesn't mean that you should um, keep putting off with it if it's something that makes you uncomfortable and everything. But be professional, but be kind about it as well, because they probably were well meaning, maybe. Um, I also wanted to talk about um, managing breakups, because that's probably something that will happen, um, and sort of what to tell your PAs and things like that. Um, Personally, for me, I wasn't sort of updating my PA on who I was dating when I was dating them. I did. I have just like a vivid memory of like telling my PA when I was broken up with one time, just because I knew that my mood would be different for a while, and my routine might be different, and it kind of it did affect me, that breakup. So I just knew that if I didn't say anything, there would be this kind of they would know that something was different, and it would come up in some way. I thought, it would probably come up. So I just let them know what happened in just kind of a professional, just like an updatey way, if that's the word. Um, yeah, just to let them know, like, put a bit down, or these routines might change, or um, I won't be doing this anymore, or these that. That's the thing as well. So it might have affected like the schedule with my PA of what days they come round. Um, say say the person I was dating, I maybe saw on the weekends more. Um, like maybe I went to theirs, so I wouldn't have my PA come over at the weekends. Well, maybe that would change now, and I'd want them to come at the weekend instead of the weekdays more and things like that. So I thought it was best just to explain it, really. I was perfectly comfortable to do that, so I just did. Um, Another thing, sorry, I'm just scrolling through my notes. Um, Getting as well dating. I'm talking about it as if it's like someone that you're seeing, but there is like the actual like literal like going on dates and dating people and things like that. Maybe PAs helping you get ready for dates and things like that. Balancing that professional thing with something that can get like a little bit personal, not in a neutral way, just personal. I think just approaching it like almost like it's any other event that you would be getting ready for, if that makes sense. Um, if your PA already helps you with your laundry or with getting dressed or with things like that, then it's kind of like another role. It's just like another part of that for like getting ready for a date and things like that. I think the sort of big main things that I think about around this are like about boundaries. You might have to figure out what your boundaries are with some of these things. You might know them first. If you know them, if you know what your boundaries are, your hard boundaries about things are before you employ PAs, just being really communicative and like telling them and like the people you're dating what you want to tell them like straight away, knowing that you know your boundaries can change and things, but just being very communicative about them, like being ready to maybe field some questions because sometimes people have questions about things, knowing what you do and don't want to answer, having answers for things that might be like a common question, I guess. Um, Remembering that the level of like, I'll just use the word friendship as like a catch-all thing, but like that level of like relationship that's not a working thing you want with your PA, like that's up to you. Some people want absolute purely work relationship, and I think for me it was like a 90% work relationship and a little bit of like I did become like friends with them a bit. What you tell them about your relationships is up to you, but just remembering that like you do have some duties to them as somebody who you are employing. It's like it's their workplace and things as well. They'll be coming into contact. They could be coming into contact with other people, so you just need to make sure that they're comfortable with things, and if they have concerns and come to you to like listen to them and field them. I don't have any examples of that, which might be helpful, but I guess I was just quite lucky in that there wasn't any conflict in that kind of area there. I think I'm kind of coming to the end of like my examples really, but that really is my advice: just knowing what your boundaries are, communicating them, being very upfront about them, but knowing like like I said, for me, my like care and everything, that's like gonna come first. So if somebody who I'm dating, people can like maybe they have questions and they don't quite understand things, that's absolutely fine. But if after you've answered everything and you've been really reasonable with everything, if they have any kind of problems with things, it sort of becomes their thing to deal with at that point, and you have to decide whether that's something you can pursue or not. If they're going to be weird about those things. So I'll kind of be ready to field questions now. I think it's probably some things I didn't cover.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Connor. That was great. I am turning off